They said humans were weak, fragile, nothing more than soft-skinned creatures who broke easily under pressure. The Galactic Council had observed them for decades, watching their primitive wars and petty squabbles, dismissing them as another failed species destined for extinction. But they had never encountered Maya-chan. When the alien judges threw the disabled 13-year-old girl into the Crimson Chasm to face Vorthak the Destroyer, a creature that had devoured champions from 100 worlds, they expected screams, terror, and swift death. What they got instead would shatter everything they thought they knew about humanity and change the fate of the galaxy forever. Sometimes the smallest spark can ignite the greatest fire. Sometimes the weakest among us carry the strongest flame. And sometimes what appears to be a death sentence becomes the moment a species proves they belong among the stars. The transport vessel Judgment's edge cut through the void of space like a silver blade, carrying its precious cargo toward the trials of worthiness. Inside the sterile holding chambers, representatives from dozens of species waited in nervous anticipation. Some meditated in silence, others performed elaborate rituals, and a few engaged in heated discussions about strategy and honor. Maya-chan sat quietly in her wheelchair, staring out the small porthole at the swirling nebula beyond. At 13 years old, she was the youngest being aboard the vessel by several decades. Her legs, paralyzed since birth due to a rare genetic condition, rested motionless beneath a simple blanket. But her dark eyes held a sharpness that seemed to cut through the cosmic backdrop like twin stars. The other passengers gave her a wide berth, not out of respect, but out of confusion and disgust. How had such a broken creature been selected for the trials? The Galactic Council selection process was supposed to identify the strongest, most capable representatives from each world. Yet here sat this small human child, unable to even walk, clutching a worn tablet computer and occasionally adjusting the position of her legs with her hands. Commander Zixtal of the Hegemony Forces approached Maya's section of the transport. The reptilian officer's scales gleamed under the artificial lighting, and his 4 arms gestured in what his species considered a diplomatic manner. Behind him walked Ambassador Yethnara, a crystalline being whose translucent body refracted the light into prismatic patterns. Young human, Commander Zixtal began, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to obedience. There has clearly been some mistake in your selection. The trials of worthiness are designed to test the pinnacle of each species' capabilities. They are not games for younglings or the infirm. Maya looked up from her tablet, meeting the commander's gaze without flinching. I know what the trials are, Commander. I've studied every recorded challenge from the past 3 centuries. Ambassador Yethnara's crystalline form chimed softly, the sound equivalent to laughter in her species. Studied? Child, knowledge means nothing when you face the Crimson Chasm. Vorthak the Destroyer has claimed the lives of warriors who could crush starships with their bare hands. What hope does a broken little girl have? The conversation had drawn the attention of other passengers. A massive Krillon warrior, standing nearly 3 meters tall and covered in battle scars, lumbered over to investigate. His people were known throughout the galaxy as fearless fighters who considered honor in battle the highest virtue. This is the human representative? The Krillon rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. I have heard tales of your species' recent conflicts. Your soldiers show promise, but this... He gestured dismissively at Maya. This is an insult to the trials. Maya saved the file she had been working on and closed her tablet. What makes you think I'm here by mistake? The question hung in the air for a moment before Commander Zixtal answered. Your species submitted you as their champion. But champions are meant to be the best their people can offer. You cannot walk. You have no visible weapons or armor, and you appear to possess no special abilities. What could Earth possibly hope to achieve by sending you? Maybe that's exactly why they sent me, Maya replied, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. The ambassador's crystalline form shifted colors, indicating confusion. Explain. Before Maya could respond, the ship's intercom crackled to life. The voice belonged to Captain Morthal, a seasoned Draconian pilot who had transported dozens of champions to the trials over the years. Attention passengers. We are approaching the trial station. All representatives should prepare for final briefings and assignment to your respective challenges. This is your last opportunity to withdraw from the competition without dishonor. Several beings exchanged glances, but none moved to withdraw. The prizes for succeeding in the trials were too valuable, technology, resources, and, most importantly, recognition as a species worthy of full Galactic Council membership. As the transport docked with a massive trial station, Maya transferred herself into her specialized mobility chair. This wasn't the simple wheelchair she'd been using during the journey, but a sophisticated piece of human engineering that her father had designed specifically for her. The chair could navigate virtually any terrain, and its advanced computer systems were integrated directly with her tablet and other devices. The docking bay buzzed with activity as representatives were sorted into groups. Maya found herself assigned to challenge Sector 7, along with 5 other beings. Her companions included the Krillon warrior she'd met earlier, a Vex assassin whose stealth capabilities were legendary, a Fantari psion capable of reading minds and manipulating matter with thought alone, a Zarathi engineer whose species had built some of the galaxy's most impressive megastructures, and a young Altarian noble whose people were known for their diplomatic skills and strategic thinking. The Krillon warrior, who introduced himself as Grakthor Bloodfang, looked down at Maya with a mixture of pity and irritation. "Little human, when we face the challenges, stay behind me. I will try to protect you, though I cannot promise success." The Vex assassin, Whisper in Shadow, spoke in a voice like rustling leaves. Protection will not help her in the chasm. The dragon chooses its own prey, and it prefers the weak. Maya listened to their conversations as they were led through the station's corridors. The trial station was a marvel of engineering, with sections designed to accommodate the environmental needs of hundreds of different species. Some areas had crushing gravity, others floated in zero-G, and still others were filled with exotic atmospheres. Their guide, a mechanical probe designated as Trial Monitor 7, provided a constant stream of information as they walked. Sector 7 participants will face the challenge of the Crimson Chasm. This trial tests not only physical capability, but also courage, intelligence, and the ability to overcome seemingly impossible odds. The challenge involves entering the habitat of Vorthak, the Destroyer, and retrieving the Shard of Proving without being killed. The Fantari Psion, whose name was Minkar the Enlightened, projected his thoughts directly into the minds of his companions. Asterisk the dragon has killed 43 champions over the past century. Its lair is filled with the bones of heroes from across the galaxy. Asterisk, what is the success rate for this challenge? Asked the Zarathi engineer, Construct Prime Velnara. Approximately 12%, the monitor replied cheerfully. Most casualties result from participants being consumed by Vorthak before they can locate the shard. The Altarian noble, Prince Zindios of the Third Royal House, raised a delicate hand. Is there any particular strategy that has proven effective? Successful participants have employed various approaches. Some have used superior technology, others have relied on exceptional physical prowess, and a few have utilized unique abilities specific to their species. However, Vorthak appears to adapt its hunting strategies based on previous encounters, making each challenge unique. They arrived at a preparation chamber where each participant could make final adjustments to their equipment and strategy. Maya spent her time reviewing the detailed scans of Vorthak's lair that she'd studied during the journey. The dragon's habitat was a vast underground cavern system with multiple levels and complex tunnels. The Shard of Proving was located in the deepest chamber, where Vorthak made its primary nest. Grakthor was sharpening his massive war axe, the blade gleaming with energy fields that could cut through starship hull plating. Whisper in Shadow checked her collection of throwing knives and poison vials, each weapon designed for maximum lethality. Minkar meditated, strengthening his psychic defenses and offensive capabilities. Velnara adjusted the settings on her gravity manipulators and shield generators. Prince Zendios reviewed diplomatic protocols, though it was unclear how he planned to negotiate with a predatory dragon. Human child, Grakthor called out, "What is your plan? Do you have weapons hidden somewhere?" Maya looked up from her tablet. "I have everything I need." "And what is that exactly?" the Fantari Psion asked, genuine curiosity coloring his mental projection. Maya smiled and tapped her temple. "Pattern recognition, problem-solving skills, and about 15 years of experience with physical limitations that most of you have never had to consider." The trial monitor announced that the challenge would begin shortly. One by one, they would be transported into different sections of Vorthak's lair. The dragon would begin hunting as soon as the first participant entered its domain, and the challenge would continue until either all participants were dead or someone successfully retrieved the shard. Why do they separate us? Prince Zendios inquired. To prevent cooperation, Velnara replied. The trials are designed to test individual capability, not team tactics. As the first transport beam engaged, taking Grakthor deeper into the station's challenge systems, Maya made final adjustments to her mobility chair settings. She activated several programs her father had installed, running diagnostic checks on systems that her companions couldn't see or understand. Last chance to withdraw, the monitor announced. The challenge will begin in 60 seconds. Maya closed her tablet and secured it in her chair's storage compartment. I'm ready. Whisper in shadow materialized beside her chair. Human, your confidence is admirable, but confidence will not save you from dragonfire. Why do you believe you can succeed where others have failed? Maya met the assassin's gaze steadily. Because I've spent my entire life proving that limitations only exist if you accept them. And because Earth didn't send me here to fail. The transport beam enveloped her, and Maya Chun disappeared into the depths of the trial station, ready to face a dragon that had killed heroes from across the galaxy. As the light faded, her last thought was her father's words when he'd said goodbye. Show them what humans are really capable of, Maya. Show them that our strength doesn't come from what we can do with our bodies, but from what we refuse to let our bodies stop us from doing. The Crimson Chasm awaited, and with it, a test that would determine not just Maya's fate, but humanity's place among the stars. Maya materialized in a cavern that stretched beyond the reach of artificial lighting. The transport beam deposited her in what appeared to be a natural stone chamber, though she knew from her research that nothing about Vorthax's habitat was truly natural. The dragon's lair had been constructed by the Galactic Council specifically for the trials, combining elements from dozens of different worlds to create the perfect hunting ground for a creature designed to kill. Her mobility chair's sensors immediately began collecting data about her surroundings. Temperature readings showed the ambient air was warm and humid, typical of a deep underground environment. Atmospheric analysis confirmed breathable air with elevated carbon dioxide levels. Most importantly, her motion detectors revealed that she was not alone. The chair's display showed at least 12 large life forms moving through the cavern system. Most were concentrated in the lower levels, but 3 signatures appeared to be moving upward through the tunnel network. Maya suspected these were her fellow participants, likely trying to avoid the dragon by staying in the upper reaches of the lair. A distant roar echoed through the stone passages, a sound that seemed to shake the very walls. Vorthax was announcing its presence, letting the intruders know that the hunt had begun. Maya activated her chair's silent running mode, which dampened all sound and electrical emissions. She had no intention of hiding from the dragon indefinitely, but she needed time to understand the environment before making her move. As she navigated through the first chamber, Maya's enhanced vision systems revealed details that would have been invisible to most species. The walls were marked with deep gouges, claw marks that suggested Vorthax's massive size. Scattered throughout the cavern were the remnants of previous challengers, broken weapons, torn armor, and bones that had been picked clean. But Maya wasn't looking at the evidence of failure. Instead, she was studying the patterns. The claw marks weren't random. They showed deliberate territorial marking. The bone placements suggested feeding habits and preferences. Most importantly, the damage patterns on the abandoned weapons revealed information about Vorthax's attack methods and defensive capabilities. Her tablet, now connected directly to her chair's advanced processing systems, began building a comprehensive behavioral profile of the dragon based on the evidence around her. While her fellow participants were probably planning direct confrontations or stealth approaches, Maya was treating the challenge like a massive puzzle to be solved. Another roar, closer this time, was followed by the sound of energy weapons firing. Someone had encountered Vorthax. The weapon's fire lasted exactly 11 seconds before cutting off abruptly. Maya checked her chair's life sign detectors and confirmed that one of the large signatures had disappeared from the sensor grid. For participants remaining, Maya continued deeper into the cavern system, following a route that her analysis suggested would lead toward the central nest chamber. Along the way, she encountered more evidence of the dragon's hunting patterns. Scorch marks on the walls showed where Vorthax breathed fire. Deep impact craters revealed the force of its physical attacks. Melted metal deposits indicated that the creature's flame was hot enough to liquefy starship armor. But Maya also found something else, a pattern to the damage that suggested intelligence far beyond a simple predator. Vorthak wasn't just killing intruders, it was studying them. Each attack site showed evidence that the dragon had tested different approaches against different types of opponents. It was learning, adapting, and preparing for future encounters. Her tablet chimed softly, indicating that its analysis was complete. Maya reviewed the data and felt a mixture of excitement and terror. She had identified Vorthak's primary weakness, but exploiting it would require getting closer to the dragon than any previous challenger had survived. A new sound reached her sensitive audio pickups, the distinctive hum of Fantari psychic energy being channeled at maximum power. Minkar had found the dragon. Maya adjusted her route to avoid the area where the psychic battle was taking place. She had no desire to become collateral damage in a fight between a mind reader and a creature that had been specifically designed to resist mental intrusion. The psychic energy pulses continued for several minutes before gradually fading. When Maya checked her sensors again, another life sign had vanished. 3 participants remaining. Maya reached a junction where 4 tunnels converged. Her mapping systems had identified this as a critical waypoint, roughly halfway between the entrance chambers and the central nest. According to her calculations, the Shard of Proving was located approximately 800 meters deeper into the mountain, in a chamber that Vorthak had claimed as its primary roosting area. She paused here to make final preparations. Maya opened a secure compartment in her chair and withdrew a device that looked like a simple metal cylinder. To most observers, it would appear to be some kind of tool or instrument. In reality, it was the most sophisticated piece of technology her father had ever created, a quantum resonance disruptor designed specifically to exploit the weakness Maya had identified in the dragon's construction. The device could only be used once, and it had to be deployed at extremely close range. If Maya's calculations were wrong, or if she misjudged the timing, the disruptor would be useless, and she would be defenseless against a creature capable of tearing apart starships. As she prepared to enter the deeper tunnels, Maya heard the sound of approaching footsteps. Heavy, deliberate steps that could only belong to Grakthor. The Krillon warrior had survived his encounter with Vorthak, though from the sounds of his movement, he had been injured. Maya positioned her chair in an alcove where she could observe without being seen. Grakthor emerged from a side tunnel, his massive form silhouetted against the dim lighting. His armor was scorched and dented, and he was favoring his left arm. Most tellingly, his war axe was missing its energy blade, reduced to little more than a metal club. The warrior paused at the junction, clearly uncertain about which tunnel to take. Maya watched as he consulted a handheld scanner, presumably trying to locate either the shard or other participants. After several minutes of indecision, he chose the path that led toward the central nest. Maya waited until Grakthor had disappeared before emerging from her hiding spot. She had no desire to explain her strategy to someone who would likely try to stop her from implementing it. The Krillon people valued direct confrontation and personal honor above tactical thinking. They would consider Maya's approach cowardly, even if it proved more effective than brute force. She selected a different route toward the central chamber, one that would take her through a series of smaller passages that her chair could navigate, but would be too confined for the dragon to use effectively. If her timing was right, she could reach the shard while Vorthak was occupied with other threats. The deeper she went, the warmer the air became. Maya's sensors detected elevated levels of sulfurous compounds and trace metals that suggested volcanic activity. The trial station's designers had apparently incorporated actual lava flows into the dragon's habitat, adding another layer of danger to the challenge. Maya paused when her motion detectors registered movement ahead. Something large was approaching through the tunnel system, moving with the fluid grace of a natural predator. This wasn't the heavy footfalls of Grakthor or the precise movements of the remaining participants. This was Vorthak itself. Rather than retreating, Maya advanced her chair to a position where she could observe the dragon without being detected. She needed to see the creature in action to confirm her theoretical analysis with direct observation. Vorthak emerged into a large chamber roughly 50 meters from Maya's position. The dragon was even more massive than she had expected, easily 20 meters in length from nose to tail tip. Its scales were deep crimson with gold highlights, and they seemed to generate their own heat. The creature's eyes glowed with intelligent malice, scanning the chamber with the focused attention of an apex predator. But Maya wasn't looking at the dragon's impressive physical features. She was studying its movement patterns, the way it held its head, and, most importantly, the complex technological integration that was visible along its spine and skull. Vorthak wasn't just a dragon, it was a cyborg. The Galactic Council had enhanced a natural creature with advanced technology, creating a perfect killing machine for the trials. And Maya had just identified exactly which technology they had used. The dragon's enhanced senses suddenly focused in her direction. Vorthak had detected something, though Maya's stealth systems should have made her invisible to most scanning methods. The creature began moving toward her position with deliberate purpose. Maya realized that the dragon's enhanced senses included detection systems far more advanced than anything her father had anticipated. Her stealth technology might fool organic senses, but it was useless against military-grade sensor arrays. Rather than attempt to flee, Maya made a decision that would have horrified her fellow participants. She deactivated her stealth systems entirely and rolled her chair into the open chamber, directly into Vorthak's line of sight. The dragon stopped its advance, clearly confused by this unexpected behavior. Most prey attempted to hide or fight. This small creature was doing neither. Maya activated her chair's external speakers and addressed the dragon directly. "Hello, Vorthak. My name is Maya Chun, and I think we need to talk." The dragon's massive head tilted to one side, intelligent eyes studying this unprecedented situation. In over a century of challenges, no participant had ever attempted to communicate with the creature designated as their ultimate opponent. Maya continued, her voice steady despite the terror she felt at being so close to something capable of killing her in dozens of different ways. "I know what you really are. I know why you're here, and I know what they've done to you. You're not just a challenge for the participants, are you? You're a prisoner, just like we are." Vorthak's eyes narrowed, and for a moment Maya thought she might have miscalculated. Then the dragon did something that no Galactic Council observer had ever witnessed. It sat back on its haunches and listened. The conversation that followed would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about dragons, about humans, and about the true purpose of the trials of worthiness. Maya looked up at the massive dragon, her heart pounding, but her voice remaining steady. "The neural interface technology they used on you, it's Terracian design, isn't it? Third-generation biointegration systems with quantum consciousness bridging." Vorthak's eyes flared briefly, and when the dragon spoke, its voice resonated through the chamber like distant thunder. How does a small human child recognize technology that was classified by the Council 3 centuries ago? The fact that the dragon could speak confirmed Maya's suspicions. This wasn't just an enhanced predator, it was a fully sentient being who had been modified against its will to serve as a living weapon in the trials. "Because my father designs neural interfaces for humans with disabilities," Maya replied. "He spent 20 years studying every system the galactic community has ever developed, looking for ways to help people like me. I've been around this technology my entire life." Maya's chair moved closer to the dragon, a gesture that would have seemed suicidal to any observer. The Terraxians developed their biointegration systems to help injured soldiers return to combat. But the Council weaponized the technology, didn't they? They used it to override your natural instincts and force you to kill challengers for their entertainment. Vorthak's massive form shifted, and Maya could see the faint lines where artificial components had been integrated into the dragon's skull and spine. "The integration is incomplete. They could not fully override my consciousness without destroying my intelligence, which would have made me useless as a challenge. So they settled for behavioral conditioning and pain compliance. The neural spikes trigger automatically when you refuse to hunt participants," Maya said, her analysis of the dragon's technology confirming her worst fears. "You're in constant pain unless you're actively trying to kill challengers." The dragon's laugh was bitter and filled with ancient rage. "For 137 years, I have been forced to murder heroes, scholars, and warriors from across the galaxy. Each death weighs on my soul, but the alternative is agony that would drive any being insane." Maya felt a surge of anger that surprised her with its intensity. The Galactic Council presented itself as a beacon of civilization and justice, but they were using torture to force a sentient being to commit murder for entertainment. It was beyond cruel. It was fundamentally evil. "What's your real name?" she asked softly. The dragon was silent for a long moment before responding. "I have not spoken it aloud in over a century. I am Coranthos of the Fire Peak clan, last of the Crimson Drakes of Pyraxis Prime." "What happened to your world, Coranthos?" "The council declared my species too dangerous to be allowed full membership. We were classified as a controlled population and relocated to reservation planets. When even that proved insufficient to contain our independence, they implemented the final solution. My entire species was declared extinct, except for a few specimens kept for study and other purposes." Maya felt sick. "You're the only one left." "I'm the last of my kind, yes. And when I finally die in this cursed place, the Crimson Drakes will be nothing more than a footnote in the Council's archives." Maya checked her sensors and confirmed that Grakthor was still moving through the tunnel system, presumably searching for the shard approving. She had time for what she was about to propose, but not much. "What if I told you there was a way to remove the neural interface, to free you from the pain compliance system?" Coranthos' eyes blazed with sudden hope, quickly tempered by suspicion. "Impossible. The Terrasian systems integrate at the quantum level. Removing them would require technology that doesn't exist." Maya patted the quantum resonance disruptor secured to her chair. "My father didn't just study existing technology, he improved on it. This device can disrupt quantum-level integration without causing permanent damage to organic systems. It was designed to help humans who had traumatic reactions to neural interfaces. Even if such a device could work, using it would require you to come within striking distance of my claws and fangs. The pain compliance system would force me to attack you the moment you approached. What if I could disable the compliance system first?" Maya opened her tablet and showed Coranthos a complex schematic. "I've been analyzing your neural integration since I arrived. The compliance system has a critical vulnerability, a feedback loop that was designed to prevent the system from accidentally killing you during conditioning." The dragon studied the diagram with obvious intelligence. "A recursive dampening field in the primary neural pathway. Yes, I can feel it sometimes when the pain cycles between maximum and moderate intensity. But how would you exploit such a vulnerability? By overloading the dampening field with a precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse. It would create a temporary window where the compliance system would shut down to prevent permanent damage. During that window, I could use the resonance disruptor to sever the quantum connections." Coranthos was quiet for several minutes, clearly analyzing Maya's proposal from every angle. The electromagnetic pulse would need to be generated at extremely close range, and the timing would have to be perfect. A miscalculation would either fail to disable the system or kill me outright. "I know. That's why I need your cooperation. You know your own neural patterns better than any external analysis could determine." A distant explosion echoed through the tunnel system, followed by Grakthor's enraged battle cry. The Krillon warrior had apparently found something worth fighting, though Maya suspected it wasn't the shard. "Your fellow participant is about to trigger the automated defense systems in the treasure chamber," Coranthos observed. "He has perhaps 10 minutes before the fail-safes activate and seal the entire lair." Maya felt a chill of realization. The trial isn't just about retrieving the shard, is it? It's designed so that failure triggers a lockdown that traps everyone inside, including me. The Council's observers expect casualties among the participants, but they cannot afford to lose their primary challenge asset. If the situation becomes too chaotic, the entire lair seals and fills with neurotoxin. Everyone dies except me, protected by my artificial systems. How many times has that happened? 17 times in the past century. The Council simply reports that all participants were killed by the dragon, and they prepare for the next group of challengers. Maya realized that she wasn't just trying to save Coranthos from his torment. She was potentially the only person who could prevent the murder of everyone currently in the lair. The stakes of her plan had just increased exponentially. "If I free you from the neural interface, will you help me save the others?" Coranthos considered this carefully. "The Krillon warrior you call Grakthor is brave, but foolish. The Vex assassin, Whisper in Shadow, is skilled but lacks the knowledge to navigate the deeper security systems. If they trigger the final lockdown, we will have less than 5 minutes to reach them and guide them to safety. Then, we'd better hurry." Maya positioned her chair directly beneath Coranthos' massive head, close enough that the dragon could have killed her with a single bite. She activated her electromagnetic pulse generator, a component of her mobility chair that was nominally designed to clear electronic interference from her path. "Ready?" she asked. "I have been ready to be free for over a century, Maya Chun of Earth. If this kills me, at least I will die as myself, rather than as their weapon." Maya triggered the pulse. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then Caranthos roared, but this time the sound was different. It wasn't the controlled hunting call Maya had heard earlier. It was pure, unconstrained emotion. "The pain," the dragon gasped, "it's gone. For the first time in decades, the pain is gone." Maya didn't waste time celebrating. She activated the quantum resonance disruptor and pressed it against the primary neural interface node at the base of Caranthos' skull. The device hummed with barely contained energy as it began the delicate process of severing quantum-level connections without damaging the surrounding organic tissue. The process took exactly 90 seconds, though it felt like hours. When the disruptor finally shut down, several pieces of alien technology simply fell away from Caranthos' skull, their quantum bonds permanently severed. Caranthos slowly lifted his head, testing his freedom with cautious movements. "I can feel my own thoughts again. My own will. Maya Chun, what you have done. There are no words in any language that could adequately express my gratitude." "Thank me after we save the others," Maya replied, though she couldn't hide her smile at the dragon's obvious relief. Another explosion, closer this time, reminded them both that the clock was still ticking. Caranthos spread his wings, magnificent appendages that spanned nearly 30 meters when fully extended. "Climb onto my back," he said. "It is time to show these council observers what happens when they underestimate both dragons and humans." Maya secured her mobility chair to Caranthos' back using emergency cables from her equipment kit. As the dragon launched itself through the cavern system toward the sounds of combat, Maya realized that this wasn't just about completing the trial anymore. This was about revolution. Caranthos flew through the cavern system with speed and precision that defied his massive size. Maya held tight to her chair's safety restraints as the dragon navigated tight passages and sudden vertical drops with the skill of someone who had spent over a century learning every inch of his prison. They reached the treasure chamber just as the automated defense systems activated. The chamber was a vast, circular space carved from living rock, with a shard of proving displayed on a pedestal in the center. Surrounding the pedestal were dozens of energy projectors, gravity manipulators, and weapon systems designed to eliminate anyone who approached the shard without proper authorization. Grakthor was pinned behind a fallen stalactite, his armor smoking from multiple energy hits. The Krillon warrior was still fighting, hurling chunks of stone at the defense systems with remarkable accuracy, but he was clearly outmatched. Several of the automated weapons had been destroyed, but many more remained active. Whisper in Shadow was nowhere to be seen, though Maya's sensors detected movement in the upper reaches of the chamber. The Vex assassin was apparently trying to use stealth and agility to reach the shard, but the defense systems included motion detectors that could track even her nearly invisible form. "The lockdown sequence has already begun," Caranthos announced grimly. "We have 4 minutes and 30 seconds before neurotoxin floods the chamber." Maya quickly analyzed the defense grid while Caranthos circled the chamber above the weapon emplacements. "The system is designed to prevent anyone from reaching the shard, but it's not designed to deal with cooperative tactics. Can you draw fire while I disable the central control node?" "I'm no longer compelled to avoid damage to myself," Caranthos replied. "Yes, I can survive their weapons long enough for you to work." Maya spotted the control node, a crystalline structure embedded in the chamber wall about halfway between the floor and ceiling. It was protected by an energy shield, but her analysis suggested that the shield was designed to stop energy weapons and kinetic projectiles, not quantum resonance disruption. "Grakthor," Maya called out through her chair's speakers. "Can you hear me?" The Krillon warrior's head appeared above his makeshift shelter. "Human child? How are you still alive? And why are you riding the dragon?" "Long story. I need you to draw the attention of the lower weapon systems, while Caranthos handles the aerial defenses. You ally yourself with the beast that killed our companions." Grakthor roared back, though Maya noticed he was already moving to comply with her request. "The beast has a name, and he's not your enemy anymore," Maya shouted as Caranthos dove toward the chamber floor. The Council is our enemy. Maya didn't have time to explain the full situation, but Grakthor seemed to understand that cooperation was their only chance of survival. The warrior emerged from cover and began a running assault on the nearest weapon emplacement, drawing fire from multiple systems. Caranthos flew directly at the central control node, breathing dragon fire at the energy projectors that tried to target him. His flames, Maya realized, burned much hotter than the dragon fire she'd seen evidence of earlier. Without the neural interface constraining his abilities, Caranthos was far more dangerous than the Council had ever intended. As they approached the control node, Maya activated her quantum resonance disruptor. I need you to get me within 2 meters of the crystal. 2 meters of an active energy shield is suicide for most species, Caranthos warned, but he adjusted his flight path to bring them closer to their target. Maya felt the heat from the energy shield washing over her as Caranthos brought her within range. She pressed the disruptor against the shield barrier and triggered it at maximum power. The quantum field generated by the device created interference patterns in the shield's energy matrix, causing it to fluctuate wildly. For exactly 3 seconds, the shield failed completely. Maya used those 3 seconds to physically touch the control crystal with a modified data probe from her chair's toolkit. Her father had installed the probe specifically for interfacing with alien computer systems, and it immediately began uploading a virus that Maya had coded during her time studying for the trials. The virus was elegantly simple. It instructed the defense system to classify all current intruders as authorized personnel for the duration of the current trial period. Maya had written it based on her analysis of similar Galactic Council security protocols, gambling that the trial systems would use standardized authentication methods. The gamble paid off. One by one, the automated weapons stopped firing and retreated into standby positions. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of Grakthor's heavy breathing and the distant hum of the lockdown timer. 3 minutes and 15 seconds remaining, Caranthos announced as he landed near the pedestal. Maya quickly transferred from the dragon's back to her mobility chair and approached the shard of proving. The artifact was a crystalline formation about the size of her fist, glowing with soft blue light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with some invisible heartbeat. But as Maya reached for the shard, she hesitated. Whisper and Shadow materialized beside the pedestal, her stealth systems finally failing as she deactivated them voluntarily. Human, the Vex assassin said, her voice carrying a note of respect that hadn't been there before. What you have done here defies all logic and expectation. You have turned our greatest threat into our ally, and you have solved challenges that were designed to be unsolvable. The shard belongs to all of us, Maya replied. We all risked our lives to get here. Grakthor approached the pedestal as well, his war axe now powered down. The human speaks truth. We have all proven our worth, though perhaps not in the way the Council intended. Maya looked at the 3 beings around her, then at Caranthos who watched from nearby. What if we don't take the shard? What if we leave it here and walk away together? The lockdown sequence will still trigger, Whisper and Shadow pointed out. We will still die. Not if Caranthos comes with us, Maya said. He knows this place better than anyone. He can guide us to an exit that bypasses the lockdown systems. Caranthos tilted his massive head thoughtfully. There are maintenance passages that lead to the station's outer hull. They were designed for emergency evacuation of Council observers, not participants. But yes, I could guide you to safety. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the dragon announced. Maya made her decision. She grasped the shard of proving and immediately felt a surge of energy flow through her consciousness. Images flashed through her mind. Scenes of other challengers who had reached this point, their hopes and fears and final moments. But more than that, she saw the truth about the trials. The shard wasn't just a trophy. It was a recording device that captured the experiences and knowledge of everyone who touched it. The Council wasn't just testing individual capabilities. They were harvesting the tactical knowledge, technology, and cultural information of every species that participated. They're stealing from us, Maya whispered, understanding flooding through her. Every trial, every challenge, every piece of technology we use to survive, it all gets recorded and analyzed. They're not evaluating us for membership. They're mining us for intelligence. Then we deny them that intelligence, Grakthor declared, understanding immediately. Maya looked at the shard in her hands. Then at her companions. If I destroy this, we'll never be able to prove that we completed the trial. Humanity will remain outside the council. Perhaps that is not such a terrible fate, Whisper in Shadow observed. If this is how the council treats its members. 1 minute and 45 seconds, Caranthos warned. Maya made the second most important decision of her life. She activated her chair's emergency power systems and channeled all available energy through the quantum resonance disruptor, using the device to shatter the shard of proving into 1,000 glittering fragments. The crystal's destruction triggered alarms throughout the chamber, but it also caused something else. The lockdown sequence paused, apparently confused by the unexpected loss of its primary monitoring system. The confusion will not last long, Caranthos said urgently. We must leave now. The dragon led them through a hidden passage behind the pedestal, a narrow tunnel that Maya's chair could barely navigate. Behind them, they could hear the lockdown sequence resuming, but they were already beyond the reach of the neurotoxin dispensers. As they emerged onto the station's outer hull, Maya looked back at the trial facility and realized that they had done something unprecedented. They hadn't just survived the trials, they had exposed them as a fraud. And they had freed the last member of an extinct species in the process. What happens now? Gracthor asked as they waited for emergency transport. Maya smiled, thinking about the recorded evidence in her chair's memory systems and the testimony they could all provide about the council's crimes. Now we go home and tell everyone what we learned. And we start building something better than the Galactic Council. Caranthos spread his wings against the starfield, free for the first time in over a century. The humans have an interesting approach to problem-solving, he observed. Perhaps there is hope for this galaxy after all. 6 months after the trial station incident, Maya Chan sat in the main conference room of the newly established Independent Species Alliance headquarters on Luna. The facility was still under construction, but the symbolism was important. Humanity's first major diplomatic installation beyond Earth, built not to join an existing galactic order, but to create a new one. The conference room's massive windows provided a spectacular view of Earth below, and Maya often found herself gazing at her home world while listening to reports from across the galaxy. Today's meeting was particularly significant because it marked the formal establishment of the Alliance's governing charter. Gracthor occupied a specially reinforced chair designed to accommodate his massive frame. The Krillon warrior had become something of a celebrity among his people after his report about the Council's deception sparked a planet-wide revolt against their colonial governors. The Krillon clans had withdrawn from Council space entirely and were now major contributors to the Alliance's military forces. Whisper in Shadow remained largely invisible even when present, though Maya had learned to detect the subtle environmental changes that indicated the Vex assassin's location. The entire Vex collective had gone underground after learning about the intelligence harvesting, using their stealth capabilities to establish a galaxy-spanning information network that the Council couldn't penetrate. Prince Zendios, who had escaped the trial station through a different route when the lockdown began, now served as the Alliance's chief diplomat. His people, the Altarians, had used their political influence to quietly convince dozens of species to reconsider their relationships with the Council. Velnara, the Zarathi engineer, had become the Alliance's chief technology officer, coordinating the development of new defensive systems and communication networks. Her people's engineering expertise was proving invaluable in building the infrastructure needed for an independent galactic government. And Caranthos, who had officially been declared extinct by the Council, now served as the Alliance's chief strategic advisor. His knowledge of Council operations, gained through over a century of force service, made him an invaluable resource for planning their resistance efforts. The latest intelligence reports confirm that 17 more species have withdrawn from Council space in the past month, Zendios reported, his diplomatic training evident in his precise delivery. The revelation about the trials has had a cascading effect across the galaxy. Species that previously viewed Council membership as an honor are now questioning whether they've been unwitting victims of exploitation. Maya reviewed the data on her tablet, noting patterns that went beyond simple political realignment. It's not just about the trials anymore. People are starting to ask fundamental questions about the Council's legitimacy. When you reveal that an institution is built on lies, everything they've ever claimed becomes suspect. Gracthor's massive hand made the conference table vibrate as he emphasized his point. My people have discovered evidence of resource extraction operations disguised as infrastructure development projects. The Council has been systematically plundering member worlds for centuries while presenting themselves as benefactors. The Vex intelligence network has confirmed similar patterns across 43 systems. Whisper in Shadow's voice seemed to come from empty air near the window. The Council's economic model depends on maintaining technological and resource disparities between member species. They deliberately prevent advancement that might threaten their hegemony. Velnara activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy-wide communication network the Alliance had been constructing. Our quantum entanglement communication system is now operational across 15 sectors. We can coordinate resistance activities and share information faster than Council forces can respond. Maya studied the network display with satisfaction. Good. Information is our greatest weapon. The more people know about what the Council has been doing, the harder it becomes for them to maintain their facade of legitimate governance. Caranthos spoke from his position near the room's enlarged entrance, his voice carrying the weight of his centuries of experience. The Council is not merely corrupt, it is fundamentally predatory. They view all other species as resources to be exploited rather than equals to be respected. This is why reform from within is impossible. Which brings us to the main agenda item, Maya said, calling up a strategic analysis on the room's main display. The Council has announced new security measures in response to what they're calling the extremist uprising. They're moving fleet assets into position around key systems and implementing martial law on 12 worlds. The display showed Council military formations spreading across the galaxy like a disease. Maya had spent weeks analyzing the deployment patterns with Caranthos and the Alliance's other strategic minds. They're preparing for war, Grakthor observed grimly. The peaceful withdrawal of member species threatens their power base. They will use force to maintain control. Then, we need to be ready for them, Maya replied. But not in the way they expect. Maya activated a new section of the holographic display, showing detailed schematics of Council fleet compositions and tactical doctrines. The Council's military advantage comes from their technological superiority and unified command structure. But those advantages become weaknesses when you understand how to exploit them. Caranthos' eyes gleamed with predatory intelligence. You have identified their critical vulnerabilities. Their technology depends on centralized control systems, Maya explained, highlighting specific components in the fleet schematics. Take out the command and control networks, and their ships become isolated units fighting independently. Their tactical doctrines assume they'll be facing primitive resistance movements, not coordinated multi-species alliances with sophisticated technology. Velnara leaned forward, studying Maya's analysis with professional interest. You're proposing asymmetric warfare on a galactic scale. I'm proposing that we use the same advantages that helped us survive the trials, Maya corrected. Pattern recognition, tactical flexibility, and the willingness to consider solutions that our enemies think are impossible. Whisper in Shadow materialized beside the display, her stealth systems revealing her position for emphasis. The Vex have identified 7 critical communication hubs that coordinate Council fleet movements. Simultaneous strikes on these facilities would create chaos in their command structure. The Krillon clans can provide the military force needed for direct confrontation, Grakthor added. But we will need precise timing and coordination to avoid being overwhelmed by superior numbers. Zendios consulted his diplomatic communications device. I have confirmation from the Altarian Royal Council. They are prepared to officially recognize the Alliance as a legitimate government and provide sanctuary for refugees from Council reprisals. Maya felt a familiar surge of the determination that had carried her through the Dragon's Lair. Then, we're ready to move from resistance to revolution. Over the next hour, they refined their plans for what would become known as the Galactic Liberation. Unlike the Council's centralized approach to governance, the Alliance would operate as a confederation of independent species united by common principles rather than shared subjugation. As the meeting concluded, Maya remained in the conference room while the others departed to coordinate their respective contributions to the coming conflict. Caranthos approached her position, his massive form moving with surprising gentleness in the confined space. You are troubled by something, the dragon observed with the perceptiveness that had helped him survive over a century of forced combat. I keep thinking about something you said during our first conversation, Maya replied. about being the last of your kind. Even if we win this war, even if we create a better galaxy, you'll still be alone. Caranthos was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the stars beyond Luna's horizon. For over a century, I believed that my species' legacy would end with me, that the Crimson Drakes would be remembered only as a footnote in the Council's records of exterminated species. And now I see young beings like yourself, and I realize that legacy is not about genetics or species classification. It is about the principles and values we pass on to those who come after us. The courage to stand against oppression, the wisdom to see through deception, and the compassion to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Maya smiled, understanding the deeper meaning behind the dragon's words. So the Crimson Drakes aren't really extinct. No, Caranthos agreed, spreading his wings in a gesture that Maya had learned indicated contentment. They live on in every being who chooses freedom over security, truth over comfort, and justice over order. They live on in the Independent Species Alliance, and in the galaxy we will build together. As Maya looked out at the stars, she thought about the 13-year-old girl who had been thrown into a pit to die because aliens thought humans were weak and worthless. That girl had discovered that true strength came not from what you could do despite your limitations, but from what you could accomplish by embracing them. The galaxy was about to learn the same lesson. And somewhere in the vast network of communication relays that now connected dozens of worlds in common cause, the story of Maya Chun and the dragon she had befriended was spreading. It had become more than just an account of the trials. It had become a symbol of what was possible when beings chose to see each other as allies rather than enemies. The Galactic Council had thrown a disabled human child to their deadliest dragon, expecting her to perish. Instead, she had freed the dragon, exposed their crimes, and started a revolution that would reshape the galaxy. Sometimes the smallest spark really could ignite the greatest fire. Maya Chan had proven that humanity belonged among the stars not because they were the strongest or the most advanced, but because they refused to accept that limitations meant defeat. And in a galaxy full of species who had forgotten that lesson, that refusal would prove to be humanity's greatest gift to the cosmos.